Okay, you're done inspecting for the day. You're heading back to your hotel room. You're tired. You looked at your phone, and like I said, I had 39 voicemails one time in Houston. The first 10 days when you're getting inundated with claims. So, when you get back to your hotel room, your day is not nearly done. I'm sorry to tell you. So what's the first thing you want to do when you get back to your room?
Get a beer.
Eat, because you probably didn't get any lunch. I was fortunate if I got a bottle of water and a protein bar, because we didn't stop for lunch. And I eat breakfast, big breakfast, and usually I get back to the hotel room, usually until around or it would be at least 6, depending on traffic in Houston. It might be 6:30, sometimes 7. First thing I would do, I'd go through my voicemails. Of course, I'm fortunate. I go through my voicemail and it's from so-and-so. And Cheryl would say, I took care of that, erase it. I took care of that, erase it. By the time I got through 39, I only had 6 or 7 left. Because she had taken care of it, they had called her also, or she got information, or she had called them. There was a new claimant. I can't tell you how valuable it is to have somebody in there to assist you. After I would eat, I would sit down and start returning my voicemails. And any new claim that came in that was a commercial policy, she'd not call them. She would want me to call them, which I wanted to anyway. You know, I did a 27-story office building downtown. The basement was a $6 million claim. I'm still upset that I didn't get the excess on it, but it was a 1 and 2 line item, $500,000 claim. It wasn't all bad. And they had diagrams on computers, so I didn't even have to measure it. So some of the larger ones actually are the easiest. But return all my voicemails, any emails that I may have, call the new claim assignments that I needed to contact. Cheryl would call all the new claimants also, and if they had any questions or anybody that I needed to call back, she would have a stack of those, and I would call them back. So I would try to get all my calls taken care of and get them out of the way. She takes care of all this scheduling inspections, but if you're a one-man show, at some point in time, you got to stop and schedule some appointments, if not for tomorrow, the following day. And you got to do it while people are still up. So that has to be done because you have to stay on top of your new claim assignments. If you're working by yourself, you have to call all the new claim assignments. We load all of our inspection photos into our computers and put them in Xactimate now. I put them into my computer, then I move them in the Xactimate, take the SD card out. She put them on her computer and she puts them in her computer. That way, if I ever have a computer go down, I'm not losing my photos. So we have them on 2 different laptops. Say we're a little anal when it comes to that. After I load my photos, I put them in the Xactimate file and I label them. Label your photos the day you take them while you remember it to some degree. Also, when you send in preliminary report photos, they have to be labeled. So you might as well label all of them. Now, Xactimate, it's not that hard to label them because you can bundle them up and do them pretty rapidly. Simsol wasn't that easy. You had to go and do them one at a time by themselves. As I mentioned earlier, the average claim is going to have between 100 and 150 photos. So it's not uncommon to take 6, 7, 8, 900 photos in a day. That's a lot of labeling, each day we have to send in a preliminary report. The day you do the inspection, now, FEMA says you have 10 days to get your preliminary report in. The company I've been working for, and I would highly recommend Pacesetter to follow the same guidelines. You get your preliminary report in the day you do the inspection. If not, if you do not stay up, you will never get caught up, and it will eat you up. So you fill out the flood form paperwork. We do the preliminary report. They have an exactimate. It's a little bit different. You have to scan all your documentation. If you've got any underwriting actions, you have to scan it, put it in PDF, send it up to analysis. Non-waivers, advance payments, any forms that pertaining to claim, you want to get them scanned in. Now, a lot of times my wife will scan them in the next day, I'll be honest with you. I will scan in the necessary forms I need to get my preliminary report set up. But she may do the flood survey and my diagram, sketch, things like that. I may have her to do them the next day because I don't want to sit there and scan them in myself. That's one of the advantages of having help. The advance payment has to be sent in that night. If you took an advance payment and you submitted it, it has to be submitted that night. If you request an engineer report, you send it in that night. Scan all scope notes and place them in the exactimate file. Why? Because when I get ready to send them to my estimate writer, I want them all in. They need to be in there. Also, something that's new since Sandy, they put a lot of heat on the TPAs and the insurance companies to be transparent. So anything that you put in a file, the insurer can see it. Any note that you put in the file, they can see it. They can see your scope notes. They can see your sketch. They can see how sloppy you are or how neat you are. They have complete access to that. So if you've got a jerk and you make a note that he's a jerk, he can see it. So be professional at all times. Cannot stress that enough. I once read, or actually heard, a guy make a statement that the more you act like an attorney, the less chance you will have being deposed by one. I don't know if I agree with that because I don't have high esteem of attorneys. It might have been an attorney that made that statement. But there's a little bit of truth in it. Don't get yourself nailed into a corner. If you don't know if something's covered, say, I don't know, I'll check and get back on it. Under promise and over deliver. Each night we have to check in with a claims manager in a cat loss. I don't know if you do that on property, but you do it, they do it on flood. Each night I would send my files to the writers that need to be written. And I would go out each night at 10 o'clock. And I would go into my vehicle and I'd take my files out there with me and I'd start loading them into my GPS while I had an evening cigar. And I want to make sure that one, I can find the address. Two is I've got them in my GPS and I put them in backwards so that when I start hitting the button, I go to the first one, the second one. I don't have to sit there and load an address each time because 1 or 2 minutes, loading 6 claims is 12 minutes. And I'm telling you, we're taking advantage of every ounce of daylight that we can possibly do to see as many people. If you're working by yourself and you come in after a hard day of scoping, you've gotten assigned 10 or 20 claims that you've got to call. You've got 10 or 20 voicemails that you got to return. You've got 700, 800 photos you've got to label. You've got 6 preliminary reports to send up that takes about 30 minutes apiece after you get the photos labeled. You need to call people to set appointments for inspections on claims that's come in or that you have backed up. You can very easily have 5, 6, 7 hours of work to get done from the time you get it inspected to do all that. I cannot say enough how important it is, even if you get one person to help you, they can take some of that off. Even if you get a person that will go with you, that will drive your vehicle so you can answer voicemails in between claims or while you're driving back to the hotel if you're working an hour or so off. When I worked in New Jersey, I was just outside of Philadelphia in Cherryville or whatever it is, I had to drive an hour and 15 minutes each direction to the coast because that was the closest hotel I could get. So I had a lot of downtime. In Houston, it wasn't nothing to take an hour and 45 minutes to go 15 miles from downtown to get back out west to the hotel. I don't like to drive, and I don't drive. That's one reason why I had my nephew drive, but it also freed me up to utilize that time. I would get on the phone, start talking to my wife, what do we need to do? What calls do I need to start going back? And I would try to start as early as possible. Because the bottom line is, you're going to be working at a CAT event, it's going to be days. Some people will try to stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning getting their work done and then turn around and get up at 5 and try to go again. You can't do that very long. You're better off. Of course, I can go on 5.5 hours sleep anytime. That's normal for me. So I go to bed at 11, I got up at 4:30. I do 4 prelims at night, and I get up at 4:30 and do the other 2 before I got in the shower and went to breakfast. But we had a system down. Now the guys that I took, the other 2 guys that helped me, they just helped me inspect. They did nothing once we got back to the room. So it's just my wife and I. But she does a tremendous amount of work. So the flood insurance business, it is a good business. I would strongly encourage everyone that's watching this video, if you're a property adjuster, to seriously consider it. There's a lot of good things in it. You can help a lot of people. Working day claims is not that difficult, just like working day claims on property. A large catastrophic event can be difficult if you're not prepared for it and you don't have a plan put in place. Well, I appreciate your time and your effort, and I do hope that you picked up something out of my presentation that might help your business and help Pacesetter. And I appreciate the opportunity to come and visit and talking to you. Thank you.